talk about the past week. I forgot to mute my computer, so I just had everything playing back to me there for a second.
That's fun. I like doing that.
I was wondering what was making the audio go wrong. So hopefully we won't have any more technical problems for the rest of the show, but we know that's just not
Have
going
you
to be
seen
true.
the show?
Yeah, really. Tonight we're going to be talking about some Call of Duty news. We have some Nintendo stuff I want to hit up with as well. But first, I do always want to welcome everyone joining us in the chat. This is GamePoints episode 87. Feel free to participate if you're watching us here live at Twitch TV/GamePoints. We do go live every Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you can't watch us live, feel free to check out our YouTube page. We try to put up all the old shows there. Regardless of where you're at, like, subscribe, comment, and all that stuff. If you do happen to be here right now, feel free to join in the chat, and we will try to adjust you when we can. Without further ado, the biggest, absolute, most entertaining news story of last week is what I want to lead off with. And that is
Let's talk about it.
Not Call of Duty, not Zelda DLC, but the fact that Night Trap is getting remastered and brought to the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One.
You're welcome, everyone. Although I've only seen the PS4 box.
Yeah, so about that. There's a couple things to know here. One, Night Trap Anniversary Edition is coming to PS4 and Xbox One. It's being developed by Screaming Villains, and it will launch this spring. Now, the box you're seeing is as a result of an additional partnership between Screaming Villain and Limited Run Games, in that they're going to be producing a small production run of Night Trap on the PlayStation 4 itself. There'll be one of 3 boxes you can pick from, and if you don't know what Limited Run Games does, they do these, well, limited runs, as their name suggests, and they will create digital physical copies where it would normally only be a digital game. For example, I think Shovel Knight had their physical release through these guys. I'm like blanking out. Oh, the Silver Case had a limited production run through them. Essentially, games that you would only find on Steam or the digital stuff on PS4, they do like 100 copies, 1,000 copies, and put them out there. They're very cool if you're a collector. Otherwise, you can probably just get it digital.
Okay, so here's the thing. You've been talking about the release and the fact that Night Trap's coming back, but for the majority of people, the vast majority of people, what the fuck is Night Trap?
Okay, so Night Trap was a Sega CD game. Way back, I want to say it came out in 93, 94. And for the most part, it was nothing but full motion video with occasional couple of QuickTime events in there, back before anyone really called them QuickTime events. If you remember the old like Space Ace and Dragon's Lair arcade games, that was the cartoon, you could occasionally move the joystick to make them do stuff, you're kind of on the right trail here. Night Trap was notorious in that this, along with Doom, Lethal Enforcers, and Mortal Kombat at the time, were all brought up as evidence that video games are corrupting the young. Senator Joe Lieberman back at the time tried to have the government step in and regulate them, which is why the banner down there says people tried to get this game banned. This game was before the ESRB was around, and as a result of these senatorial hearings, the ESRB, the ratings guys that put like T or M or E down the bottom of your games, that was formed up as a response from all the game publishers getting together and going, hey, listen, we don't need government regulation here. We'll just create our own ratings board. And they kind of use that as a compromise between having no ratings and having the government dictate to us what is and isn't acceptable.
Good plan. Full motion video game. So here's what's funny, because last week we were talking about a new full motion video game in like 4K and looks super interesting because it actually looks fun. Looks like it's well directed.
No, fuck.
Can you tell me that?
I already forgot what game that was.
Even a little true for Night Trap?
No.
I know you have a special fondness in your heart for FMV games for some fucking reason.
Well, because
even though we left them in the 90s for a very specific purpose.
I was like 12 or 13 when these games came out, when the Sega CD was real big. And this was, to me, that first step between bridging video game and television. This was them trying to, keep in mind, I was 12 at the time, so this was fucking amazing. This was them bringing storytelling into video games. Once again, I was 12, it was the early 90s, and the only story games I really had were some of the more hardcore JRPGs like Chrono Trigger or Final Fantasy. For the most part, games were still very much either platformers or sports games.
Yeah.
You didn't have these 200-hour adventures like The Witcher 3, which is a role-playing game, but also kind of an adventure game. You didn't have a lot of the Telltale stuff that you did, that you do have now. Back then, keep in mind, yes, I know PC games had like Myst and Waxworks and all that, but I didn't have a PC when I was 12. I had consoles. So this was an exciting step toward seeing more story-based games come out. Now, what happened was we got kind of the video game equivalent of Canon Films. If you remember Canon Films in the 80s, the guy did movies like Revenge of the Ninja and shit like that. All those horrible C-grade direct-to-video movies. That's kind of what you get with these. In fact, Digital Pictures, the guys who did Night Trap, their last game, I want to say was called like Maximum Force or something like that, never saw the light of day. And what they did is they took that hour of gameplay that they shot, or gameplay, I mean footage for the game, and it was supposed to star Yasmin Belief and Walter Cohen from Star Trek, and they took that, added 30 minutes of new footage to it, and then added footage from a bunch of other games like Ground Zero Texas and Corpse Killer, and made an actual movie just based on all that because they couldn't, because the full motion video game was dead by then. So they took the footage they made and reused it in an actual straight-to-DVD movie. It sucks, by the way. It's called Game Over, I believe, if you really want to look it up. Funny is that the top billing of that movie is Yasmin Belief and Walter Cohen, but they're only in the movie for like 10, maybe 20 minutes. And the main characters aren't even listed on the DVD anywhere because they're trying to cash in on those names.
Fantastic.
It's really, really fucking bad. I do not recommend anyone watching it. But yeah, Night Trap. Night
Trap coming back. FMV is coming back.
You know,
now, here's the question.
Yeah.
Does the Night Trap Anniversary Edition on PS4 support PSVR?
I highly doubt it.
I want to be in the Night Trap. I want to go to that crappy 90s party.
You want to be Night Trap?
I want to be Night Trap.
So...
Oh man, it just looks so cheesy and amazing.
It's bad. It's really bad. In fact, I'm going to play the clip again while I'm talking about it. Here is why it might be important for you guys to take a look at it. Because this game actually is historic from video game history because of the ERSP bullshit. And because, remember, there are congressmen who are still in the Senate and the House who tried to get this banned because it was considered too violent for kids. Look at what you're looking at right now. This is as cheeseball as it fucking gets. Even in the mid-90s, this was fucking considered awful as far as production values go. And they said it was too violent for kids. Now take a look at this and think about your Dooms and your Grand Theft Autos of today. And also, what should be terrifying is that a lot of the people who tried to get this banned, like I said, are still serving in Congress. Just think about that shit.
Games matter. Place your votes.
Anyways, let's move on from what is possibly one of the most campy, ham-fisted video games of all time to something that actually has a lot of production value and looks pretty solid. That is the new Call of Duty.
Dude, Call of Duty World War II coming back at you. This game, okay, I can't say shit about what the game looks like because even though the video that they've released has using in-game footage, fuck all that. You know, that's just in-game cinematic nonsense.
Yeah, always be leery when it says using in-game
running on a fucking PC, not actually on any console, anything it's going to come out on.
Yeah, absolutely. Just be very aware of when they pull tricks like that. I think we all know at this point not to really trust what we see. That said, like I said last week, I'm looking forward to a World War II Call of Duty that has the money behind it to do a really big budget Normandy, and that's what this
dude. After playing Battlefield 1, I wanted fucking Battlefield 1944 or whatever, you know, or the equivalent of. So this kind of scratches that itch.
By the way, we are aware there's a Battlefield 1942.
Yeah, so I said 44.
Yeah. Because
there's 42.
Keeping people from
43.
Saying.
There's 42 and 43. I don't believe there's 44. There's 21, 42.
Anyways, this looks
World War II.
Solid. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, no, I'm actually really excited for this, and I am curious to see how the multiplayer throws down. I know, obviously, the single player is going to have a super crazy campaign. It's very cinematic. I'm willing to bet you can just stand around and do nothing, and the game will slowly carry you through it, because that's kind of been the status quo for some of those shooters for a while now. But
yeah, absolutely.
For me, Call of Duty is still going to be a month of multiplayer, so I'm curious to see where we go.
So we did get a bunch of details on it last week besides the trailer. First of all, the single player, since we were talking about that, does follow the United States Army 1st Infantry Division, and the bulk of the narrative is going to take place between 1944 and 45, but we'll also touch upon events from 1940 to 44 to kind of give some backstory. This is essentially going to follow the time frame of Band of Brothers, if you haven't seen it. Clearly, there's going to be D-Day in here. You saw the invasion of Normandy happening. Likely, they'll introduce Operation Market Garden, probably the liberation of Paris. Highly likely, the Battle of the Bulge will be included in there as well if they're going all the way to 45. Essentially, a lot of levels they've already touched upon in the past Call of Duties, just with that next-gen coat of gloss, and we'll see how that shakes out. The campaign is going to star Jonathan Tucker. He's apparently in American Gods and a bunch of other stuff, as well as Josh Duhamel. He is the human in Transformers that's not currently hiding out in the cabin in Norway. And as that kind of it wraps up what we know about the single-player campaign. Multiplayer, they're going to do a big reveal for E3. That's going to be their big E3 push. We do know there are going to be zombies of some form in it. They did show a quick teaser picture with Nazi zombie on there, and it, I believe, is going to be deviating from the Richthofen storyline, if you've been keeping track of the Nazi zombies. And, I mean, why haven't you been? And that Call of Duty World War II will be released November 3rd, 2017, as last week's leaks more or less already said.
Just in time for the holidays.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see when presumably Red Dead Redemption gets released.
And how that screws with everybody else's schedule, considering you're going to have a Call of Duty game, you're going to have the new Battlefront releasing probably that same month. Although knowing EA, they'll probably shoot for the week before or 2 weeks before.
You're already starting to see release dates getting hammered out, and there will be something big that moves. I don't think Call of Duty is going to move. Battlefront's not going to move. And I personally think Red Dead Redemption 2 will be presumably announced for an August release. I know that's very quick. But I can see Rockstar coming up at E3 in June and just going, this game is out in, 2 months? June, July, May, August. Yeah, 3 months. I could see them doing that. And just go, here's the date, it's 3 months from now. And then all of a sudden, anything within 2 weeks, front and back of that game just gets pushed. But we'll see.
Red Dead Redemption 2, who's not going to buy that game?
Yeah, exactly. We'll see how all that shakes out later this year. Expect more details at E3.
And when does E3 take place there, buddy?
June 11th through the 3rd. That weekend of June. June 11th around
Close
then.
enough.
Yeah. I don't have the exact dates for it. I'm not going. I'll probably stream it here. Working on details to see how that works.
And we'll have a whole breakdown. So if you don't want to be bothered to watch the show, we'll talk you through the whole thing.
Our traditional 2.5 hour E3 show that fucking lasts way longer than it ever needs to.
Yep.
All right.
I don't know how anyone watches this for 2.5 hours.
No, yeah, I sure as hell don't. Next topic. Speaking of watching things, remember last week or the week before we were bitching about how Atlus had their draconian Persona 5 streaming issues?
Oh yeah, where they pulled a Nintendo and they completely misunderstood how streaming is supposed to function and why people do it.
Yeah. If you missed it, they essentially said don't stream the game past a certain date, and they straight up came out and threatened people with copyright strikes if you did. It was very fucking ham-fisted, despite them trying to have a light tone to it.
Yeah, we just want to save our fans from having any spoilers, so you're not allowed to do this or this or this or this or this.
To a game that was already out in Japan for months before. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
And the bitch of it is, it wasn't really Atlus that was doing it. It was Sega that was behind it, but still, Atlus is the one that put out the press release. They're the ones that get hammered for it. They've recently updated that policy, but still are kind of tone deaf on it. Let me bring it up right here. Here we go, right here. An update on Persona 5 and streaming. When Persona 5 launched, we put a set of video and streaming guidelines that we hoped would limit online spoilers for fans who have yet to play the game. To our surprise, which that seems like bullshit right there, because everyone knew this was going to be a disaster, we saw that numerous reactive news articles go up and opinions videos post, and many emails asking us to change our Persona 5 streaming video policy. Essentially goes on, but toward the bottom here it says, we're now asking players to refrain from streaming or posting video past the end of the in-game date of November 19th, when the main story gills up for the final act. We also want to apologize to those of you that saw the previous guidelines blog as threatening. We want to be transparent about what we do, and the reason we released guidelines was to give streamers the right information up front. It was never our intention to threaten people with copyright strikes, but we clearly chose the wrong tone for how to communicate this. The wrong tone being, you will get a copyright strike if you fucking stream past this date. There's really no misinterpreting that, guys. A couple things about this. One, the previous post was clearly just a press embargo sheet that they mailed out to press that they just copy and pasted on there. And they didn't bother to change any of the tone to it. And that was a huge mistake out the gate. Two, cool that you heard people get pissed off about it and they're responding to it. But just pushing the date that you can stream it back to November 19th, all that does is going to reignite this debate. And you're going to have more people go, oh, okay, I can't stream past that point. Let me show you what happens at that point and post your videos up on there. You're Streisanding yourself. You're doing the Streisand effect to yourself again. Brendan 11, welcome to the chat. Appreciate it.
Also, if you pay attention to his name,
as one. You guys just don't get it at Atlus. You can't fucking control what people are going to do with your game once it's out in the wild. So stop trying. It just makes you look bad.
I think they're just going to let this go for a little while longer. They'll keep trying to block people from streaming because they don't want to ruin the ending. And then I'm willing to bet if we give it another couple weeks, they'll finally just release it and be like, hey, long enough time's passed. If you don't want spoilers, you should probably pick up the game and play it yourself.
That's just it, though. You can find entire playthroughs to this months before the game came out in the States even. I mean, come on. I know their logic is the translation issue. Well, American gamers don't speak Japanese,
at this point, they can't just... I feel like they've dug in a little bit, so they can't just fall back and just release it. So they kind of have to wait and let it stew for a little while longer. And they're going to say, oh, okay, yeah, we've decided that now is when you can... That's what I think is
the genie is out of the bottle, guys. You ain't putting this one back in.
That's what they're going to live with.
But yeah, good on them for at least acknowledging that there was a problem with that people pissed off about it. But not so much that they did kind of a half measure here. And it's still fucking dumb. Anyways, next topic, completely different from what we're talking about. Capcom released a bunch of information.
Super fucking boring sales numbers.
Brendan Levin, before we get to this topic, Brendan's talking about, are you talking about that one space exploring game that nobody liked? I'm assuming he means No Man's Sky. No.
We aren't currently. We tend to a lot, though.
Yeah, we haven't talked about it for a couple months now because, honestly, I don't think anyone cares about it anymore. And no one's really going to care about this next bit here either, to be quite honest with you.
It's got several updates, and people like taking pictures of games and just playing exploration games are enjoying it now, but that's a very small amount of people.
Yeah, nowhere near the initial buying purchase. Thanks for asking about that, though, Brendan. Next story, as you can see down there, Capcom bits. Capcom essentially released a bunch of end-of-year numbers. This is all going to be really fucking boring. Here's the press release. As you can see, it's just a bunch of charts and numbers, and no one really fucking cares. I'm going to break down the two things you need to take away from this. One, Capcom says that Resident Evil 7 and Monster Hunter XX, I think it's called, are performing well, but neither one of them hit their sales goals. Resident Evil 7 sold 3.5 million, and they were shooting for 4. Monster Hunter sold 1.7 million, and they were shooting for 2. Doesn't necessarily bode well for either one of those two franchises, but Capcom isn't necessarily throwing them out with the bathwater. They're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater either. So, not good, but not necessarily bad either. I want to thank Daniel Amon, also known as ZugeEX on Twitter, for providing those numbers. That man is an analytical god when it comes to putting out stats.
Congrats on your new job, guy.
Yeah. 2, on page 11 of that linked PDF, which I'll be putting down in the description down below, Capcom hints that there is one more major release this year other than Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. If you look at it, it has a big old blank name. It just says new game projected sometime this year. No word on what it may be. No idea what it could be. My gut says it's either going to be the Resident Evil 2 remake that we know is in development, or Deep Down might finally get some news again, which we haven't heard of from in quite a while.
Deep Down. Oh yeah, that was days ago.
Yeah, long time ago. Long time ago.
They're just gonna re-release some other bullshit.
E3. Give me 1 second. David, hold the show.
Oh, are you gonna fix that typo?
I want to know where it's at. Uh,
Thanks,
sorry,
chat.
talking with chat at the same time. It's not necessarily the easiest thing to do.
No, you can figure it out. So,
Walking so
Capcom ideas. Besides a Resident Evil remake or Deep Down, you don't have any thoughts on what it could possibly be?
No, I'm hearing rumors of a Mega Man Legacy Collection 2 with a Mega
See,
Man
that's
789, but that doesn't seem like a major
that's
title to me.
no, that's actually exactly where I was going to go because after all the KJ Inafune shit and all the nonsense of Capcom just refusing to listen to people that like them, they've been Nintendo-y as of late, at least in my opinion. I could see them just like throwing out a remaster, re-release Mega Man collection nonsense, and that being the next thing they have coming out. I would totally believe it. So
Sorry, once
besides,
again, I'm trying to type in chat and respond to other people.
Yeah.
Now I'm being driven nuts. Apparently, we have a typo somewhere in the bio, and I don't have my bio up right now, and it's fucking
just get
driving me.
over
I'm
it.
going to have to fix it at
Just
the
get
end of the
over
show. Getting
No one
on, we're
fucking
moving
cares.
on, and we're going to talk about some Zelda news as well.
There you go. Thank you.
It's
Not let me transitioning from Capcom to Nintendo, but whatever.
yeah.
You do you.
Let's talk
about Zelda.
Nintendo bits. First off, of course, just announced about an hour to 2 hours ago, Zelda Breath of the Wild DLC. The first one has been detailed. We have some idea of what's going to be in it, and some of it's cool, some of it not so much. First off, the Trials of the Sword. What this is going to be is it sounds like a 45-room horde mode. Okay, cool. Not for me. Knock yourself out. There's the Hero's Path mode. This is a map that kind of highlights where you move. It keeps track of the past 200 hours of where your character was, and you can see it map out on the map there. This is going to be used for people drawing dicks. I guarantee it.
Oh, fantastic.
There is a hard mode coming where enemies gradually regain health, and you have to kill them as soon as possible. All the enemies are also powered up by one level, whatever that means. I'm not too far into Breath of the Wild. It is a fun game, though. There's a travel medallion, which is essentially like a quick travel wherever you want it. This is where the DLC kind of jumps to rails for me because this shit should have been included in the base game itself. Bunch of new armor
It's literally,
sets.
but also keep in mind that it's a special medallion that you can register one point and then travel to that point.
Yeah,
it's not like
yeah, and then you can put it somewhere else. It's not a one-time use on for us. Well, I understand.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I can't deal with this right now. I'll come back to this later, and then you leave that there, and then you go on.
Right, whole bunch of new costumes. You can see Majora's Mask, Meda's helmet, Tingle outfit for all your Tingle needs. And the Korok mask, which is going to highlight where all 900 Korok seeds are in the entire game. That's right. There are 900 of those fucking bastards in Breath of the Wild. One thing I want to mention about this DLC is that what's cool is the costume stuff. They're going to be in treasure chests hidden somewhere in the game world. They don't just give them to you. You actually have to track them down. So
that's cool.
That's like some extra
exploring
content, kind of.
Sort of.
Yeah,
it's hidden shit. People finding shit.
I like the idea behind that. But the Hero's Path mode and the Travel Medallion, that's all shit that should have been in the base game, guys. You're charging for shit that should have been in the base game.
To be fair, with a game that has the highest attach rate of any game released ever, I'm pretty sure they can do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah, that's very true. Speaking of high attach rates, we're talking about that. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was released and has sold a combined packaged and detailed original sales of 459,000 copies in one day.
First day. Which actually it makes a lot of sense to me because Mario Kart 8, from what I understood, was one of the best Mario Karts ever released. And people talked about the fact that anyone that owned the Wii U edition of Mario Kart 8 probably wasn't going to pick it up for the Switch. There wouldn't be too many double dippers. This game's probably going to sell like shit. But here's the thing. No one fucking bought a Wii U. So no one fucking played Mario Kart 8. So this is just
it's
a new Mario Kart for a lot of people.
That's exactly how I'm counting it as.
Yeah, and it's doing pretty damn well considering that on the first day it hit a 1 out of 6 attach rate, but that's because it's the second Nintendo Switch game. Don't fucking kid me.
Yeah, I mean it's fucking impressive that in one day they sold enough copies of this to make sure that 1 out of every 6 owners of the the Switch own it, because there's about 2.7 million Switch systems sold globally right now. So 1 out of 6 of people who own the system bought this fucking game. That's nice.
That's because 1 out of 6 people that have bought the Switch have beaten Legend of Zelda, and they need something to play until Mario comes out.
Possibly true.
I mean, as much
I'm
as
probably
much
going
hype
to get
as I
it.
am for Zelda and everything, I just have to keep throwing these fucking caveats in, because while I want the Switch to do really well, right now, seriously, all we have is first party. If no one else releases games on the Switch, it's going to be a Mario and Zelda machine. It's going to be another Wii. Or, I mean, not another Wii. It's going to be another Wii U. It's going to have a few games, and it's going to sit on a shelf for years.
Yeah.
I'm just worried.
Crappy.
I need Nintendo to do well.
But Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, awesome. Glad to see it selling well. I do want the system to succeed, despite how hard it is we are on it. Other Nintendo bits while we're here. No E3 at Nintendo. Not necessarily surprising. Page 19 of their.
When's the last time they were there?
Yeah, it's been a while. Page 19 of their financial results briefing for the fiscal year ending March 2017 straight up says, finally, the video game trade, so E3 will be held in Los Angeles this June. And again, this year, we will not be hosting a large-scale press conference. Expected direct or something like that around that time. And one final bit. Nintendo
the part I'm most excited for.
Yeah, Nintendo announced the 2DS XL.
The new Nintendo 2DS XL. Because they have stupid naming schemes, but you need to keep the new in there so you know that this is the model that's compatible with Amiibos and all the new Nintendo 3DS games. So there are a few of them, not that many, that don't work with your plain old 3DS. You have to have a new 3DS XL. More importantly, this is a 2DS, so there's no 3D, but it folds like a 3DS. And since it's the new version, it plays the fucking Super Nintendo games in the Virtual Console.
Yes. It does have the extra 2 buttons. You can see them down on the bottom there. I'm not going to scroll down farther on this page here.
It's got the C stick.
Yeah. Coming July 28th for $149.99, which is it's reasonable. It's a reasonable price. Congratulations. You guys discontinued the Nintendo NES Classic and gave us yet another iteration of a handheld that's been out for years now. Yay.
Well, it's also funny considering that the Switch is billed as their new portable game console, and they're like, yeah, let's just undercut our own market.
Yeah.
But
I don't get it. Well, we know that
for me, it's a chance to get rid of my 3DS and get one of these, because I never actually switched to the new 3DS, which I wanted to specifically for SNES Virtual Console games. That's the only reason I wanted a new 3DS. This has the one feature that I never use on a 3DS, which is the 3D button, which I still hold to being just super dumb. I have no use for it personally. I know some people love it, and that's all you. Have fun. I don't give 2 shits about it. The 3D switch on my Nintendo was turned on once when I first bought it to see what it looked like, and then it was immediately turned off, and I think I taped it down.
There is one thing I want to address before I go on, and you said that this is undercutting Nintendo for having another portable out when they have their portable thing. Keep in mind, we have us here at GamePoints have established that the Switch is a portable console. It's not really a console. It's not really a home console. Nintendo has been very adamant in stating over and over again that this is a home console that you can just take on the go. So in their mind, they are not undercutting themselves because they have a portable and they have their home console. I just don't want any confusion on that front, that Nintendo is not calling the Switch a portable console. They have been very, very insistent on saying it is a home device.
Yeah, but this goes back to my argument that if it's a home console, it's a shitty fucking console.
Yeah.
But as a portable, it's goddamn amazing.
I absolutely agree. I know where you're coming from. I want to be 100% clear that Nintendo themselves have been very stressed. They've been stressing very hard that this is a home console. This is that the new Nintendo 2DS XL is their portable.
I also want to know how skinny it is and how light it is.
Yeah, I do want to kind of get in my hand. Not that I'm ever going to buy one. Anyways,
I would just trade in my 3DS for one.
That wraps things up for the Nintendo bits. Let's go ahead and talk about E3 again, since that seems to be a topic coming up a lot, and the fact that Bethesda is teasing a couple of game announcements at E3. Now, I'm going to bring up the Bethesda press invite. It has been stretched out a little bit so we get full screen action on here. But they are going to be doing the Bethesda E3 Showcase June 11th at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Now, on this picture, it looks like a theme park called Bethesda Land, and you can see, like, for example, up the middle is Fallout. To the left of that is Dishonored. You have Skyrim, Prey, Doom, Quake, but there's also 2 worlds that are under construction. It says coming soon on them, pardon our dust, etc. This is clearly a tease that Bethesda is going to be unveiling 2 unannounced games at E3. Any guesses as to what they could be, David?
Well, the guess that everyone wants that no one's going to get would be a new Elder Scrolls game.
Yeah, no way. Not this time. That's years away.
However, far more likely, but directly related, would be a new expansion to Elder Scrolls Online.
I don't think that
For
will be...
For the 8 people that are still playing that game.
I don't think that is going to be announced at E3 either. One of them is almost a sure lock, and that's going to be Wolfenstein: The New Colossus. They teased this at PSX, I want to say, when they loaded up the Quake Champions demo, and it had a Wolfenstein: The New Colossus on their little boot drive there. That's almost all but guaranteed to be shown off at E3 at this point. The other one, my guess is The Evil Within 2. The Evil Within did well enough to warrant a sequel. I personally don't know if I'm excited for that, but that seems to be the other game that Bethesda could be doing, unless they pull something out of nowhere and somehow announce either a brand new IP or, like you said, another Elder Scrolls. But I highly, highly, highly doubt they're even close to announcing what a new Elder Scrolls is going to be.
Yeah,
like
that's fair.
That's 3 years minimum down the line.
There's just always a chance. Never give up, never surrender, man.
Fair enough. But yeah, expect 2 new teases from Bethesda or 2 new game announcements at E3 from Bethesda. They will be doing their own conference, it sounds like, joining the ranks of EA, Ubisoft, Sony, and Microsoft. I feel like I'm leaving one out, but I don't think I am anymore because Nintendo does.
Oh, dude, I got it. I know what they can make. Right? Everyone's gonna love it. It's gonna sell like hotcakes.
You can't even get it out. This is gonna be stupid.
It's gonna be Brink 2, man. Everybody wants to play Brink 2.
The thing about Brink is I wanted it to be good. I saw that and I was like, oh,
I was so hyped for Brink before that game came out. I was so excited for that shit.
So, despite it shitting on the franchise, I really enjoyed that first-person shooter Shadowrun game. Just as it was standalone. If you take it out of the Shadowrun universe, I really liked it. I liked the idea of the magic technology flowing together in there. And Brink seemed like the next step to that. And I was like, yeah, I'm down for this. I like this. And then it fucking came out. And I put like 20 minutes into it and never, ever touched it again. Anyways.
I played the hell out of the game, trying to just desperately get to like the nugget, like whatever the golden goose is in that game. I was looking for it. Desperately trying to find the thing to keep me there, and it just couldn't do it.
Dumb. But yeah, expect announcements in the next couple months as what those would be. While on the topic of new games, I do want to mention something that caught my eye, and I think that looks fantastic. And it's called Phoenix Point.
Oh hell yeah!
Now Phoenix Point. Go ahead.
Can you say his name correctly?
Julian Gallup.
Okay, cool.
Phoenix Point being developed by Snapshot Games, made up of a bunch of former XCOM guys, namely the original old school XCOM, namely Julian Gallup and a couple other people from that development team. It's being billed as, quote, a new strategy game from the creator of the original XCOM series. It features turn-based tactics and world-based strategy in a fight against a terrifying alien menace. They're asking for $500,000 on Fig. As of right now, they are at $499, $626 with 36 days left. So less than $500 in just over a month. They're definitely going to hit it.
Yep.
Extremely excited for it. Take a look at the trailer if you want. You can find it over at Fig. It has all that XCOM feel to it, crossed with a little bit of some cosmic horror stuff that you would see in like H.P. Lovecraft or something, with the way the dark cloud has enveloped the earth and everything like that. It's super intriguing. I don't want to get into too many details on it right now because the game is still in heavy development. It hasn't even technically been green yet. But if you're interested, if you like the old classic strategy games, if you like that old XCOM feel and that you think that the newer XCOMs are kind of missing out and you were hoping for something more along the lines of Xenonauts, take a look at Phoenix Point.
Well, and here's my thing. The XCOM games being as awesome as they are, I have no issues with more games coming out with that like genre. Because it's not a traditional game style, really. You don't have a bunch of XCOM clones running around.
No, you don't.
So
you have some smaller games that you can find on Steam that use that exact same system, the 2-turn system.
Yes.
Hard West being one that I can think off the top of my head, but nothing really.
So they're also breaking it because one of the things he mentioned, if you take a look at some of the details, is that they're going to have kind of a modified version of the 2-action system, where if your character is moving and you encounter something new, your character will actually stop and you'll have the ability to then shoot or continue moving.
Yeah, it sounds like a cross between the old XCOM style of playing and the new one.
And the fact that the enemies actually adapt and evolve over time. There's different models, there's different animations they'll get and all kinds of shit where they'll react to the way you're playing, which it sounds immersive, it sounds awesome, but obviously we're very, very early into the development of this game. They have a little bit of a trailer. From what I understand, they've figured out some of the engine and they have playable combat, but not really anything else. So don't get too excited yet, but I'm definitely going to look.
One thing that did excite me about it is that if you look at the facts, they mentioned hey, you lead a squad of 4 people, and someone goes, well, are you starting off as 4 or can you go higher? Because in the old XCOM, I believe you can load up to 12 guys or 8 guys in a vehicle, depending on how you crammed your dropship full. And he does mention you can go up to 16 by the end, it sounded like. So that's, once again, harkening back to
one of the
old
things
XCOM
is it
style.
depends on the mission, depends on what you're fighting, and depends on what you take to get there. Because he was talking about different vehicles. There's also talk of like giant, like monstrosity,
like boss
multi-tiered
creatures,
building size, huge creatures that you have to go plan to take down, and it looks cool.
Yeah,
really cool.
I'm really excited for it. It looks like it's going to pass this crowdfunding campaign, and I can't wait to get my hands on it. I would expect early 2019, maybe late 2018.
Mm-hmm.
That's my bet on that. Anyways, we have one more bit of information that I want to bring up, and that is harkening back to the Bethesda topic and the fact that Fallout is getting its own tabletop game.
Ridiculous. It's like a board game haven nowadays.
It is. Being called Fallout Wasteland Warfare and published by Modiphius Entertainment, the first tabletop miniatures game based on the Fallout universe is currently in development and set to be released November 2017. In Fallout Wasteland Warfare, players will build their own crew from a wide range of factions, allies, and iconic characters of the Fallout series, and play in apocalyptic games of 3 to 30 high-quality resin miniatures. Fallout Warfare will include an entire narrative campaign arc, as well as unique random missions with narrative-style objectives, and crew caps recovered in missions can be used to improve the crew perks, weapons, gear, and upgrades for the next encounter. We'll also go with a customizable solo-play AI deck, control enemies that play to their strengths, and replicate the faction's antics while attempting a narrative mission or perfecting blah, 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 blah. Cool. I am really concerned about the fact that it's coming out in November of this year because I'm not really seeing anything as far as how the game goes. This kind of almost feels like a cash grab to me, but we'll see once we actually have some play testers talking about it.
It's got some cool looking miniatures. It's based in the Fallout universe, which is cool. Now it is a tabletop warfare style game, which I feel is important to note. The way they're talking about it is it sounds more like, I mean, obviously you're throwing down with people all the time. It's a tactics-based miniatures game. But miniatures just look good all the fucking time nowadays. Have you noticed that? Like the overall quality, because of the rise of 3D printers and everything else, that like almost every damn game's got good-looking minis. So it's hard to just see good-looking minis and decide this is probably going to be an awesome game because of the attention to detail and more. They paid for a decent printer. So wow, I'm excited because fuck, I'll play any damn board game in it ever. I don't care. I'm curious again, like you said, to see how it plays and to see if there's any longevity to it.
Yeah, for sure. Just be careful on this one. I don't know, something about it, man, just doesn't grab me, which is weird because I'm usually a sucker for almost every board game that's out there. I think it's that November 2017 release date. That seems way too fucking close. It's 6 months away. for really no details on how the game is going to play.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really fucking concerned about it. But that is that. David, that game doesn't come out until sometime in November. What can we play right now, though, if we wanted to? What can we get this week?
Well, right now, I'm going to start just with the one that I'm most excited for that's coming out this week. It's a game that we've been talking for a while. That's not really a sequel to a game that a bunch of people wanted a sequel for, but fuck them, this one looks better. Prey is coming out this week for PC, PS4, and Xbox One. Prey being it's a first-person action-adventure game. It's got some kind of sci-fi horror-ish things. There's aliens that can turn into various household objects. From what I understand, you can actually get abilities and transform into things as well. It's published by Bethesda, coming out by Arcane Studios. For everything I've seen on Prey, makes me want to play Prey. It looks awesome.
Absolutely.
Obviously,
go ahead.
I never pre-order or buy games up front, so I'm probably going to wait a few days and see how reviews are shaking out. Maybe take a look at a couple streams and all that fun stuff, which you can do on Twitch.
I highly recommend waiting if you're thinking of buying the PC version of this, because as we know, Bethesda's kind of had a rough time with their PC ports lately. But in its defense, it is being... where was I going with that? I don't remember where I was going with that. But just look to Dishonored 2 as far as performance issues goes. But then again, Doom on PC was fucking amazing. So, I mean, it does no harm to wait a couple days after it comes out to see if it can actually run on your machine or not. This one is being done by the team at Arcane that did the first Dishonored. So if you and Harvey Smith's leading that up and all that. So if you liked the first Dishonored and you like that stuff gameplay, take a look at Prey. I'm excited for it as well. That does come out Friday, by the way.
Oh, is it Friday?
It is a Friday release.
Otherwise, I didn't
I'll
put the date on
probably
it.
be loading up here soon.
All right.
What
so
else is
also coming out
week?
this week. Now, I feel like we talked about this last week. Are you sure this is releasing right now? The Telltale Guardians of the Galaxy game?
No idea.
All right. I feel like you're lying, and we talked about that last week.
We might have.
I'm almost positive that game's already out. So, if I didn't talk about it last week, I'll talk about it now just in case. Mario's Guardians of the Galaxy Telltale game is out. I guarantee it's out. It's either out now or it came out a week ago. PC, PS4, Xbox One. Also a game that I don't know where the hell you're getting this list. I swear you're looking at months ago, because Flat Out 4 does not fucking come out tomorrow. That came out in March, and you're an idiot.
Oh, shit.
But
Guardians of the Galaxy came out in April 18th. I'm way fucking wrong on that. I don't know
where
I got that at.
I don't know what the fuck you're doing. Also coming out this week, a game that Steven's excited for. It's Cookie Clicker. No, I'm sorry, Space Plan is hitting Steam this week, a game that you can play on their website for free. It's a clicking game, except it takes place in space. It's got funny written dialogue. It's got some cool sounds, makes some sweet beep boops. But it's a time sync game for sure.
The thing about Space Plan is
the
one that you can play for free is an old version of it. They have an updated slick version, but it is straight up a cookie click game. You just click, and all you do is press that button over and over again. I don't recommend spending any money on it. The only reason why I'm mentioning it is because of their fucking marketing plan. A day or two ago, a couple friends of mine started getting these packages in the mail. And in these packages was just a fucking potato with the word spaceplan.click written on it. Because in the game, you're launching potatoes into the sun. No information as to what it was. Just a warning that says we cannot be held responsible if you eat this potato. And because of that marketing campaign, I am mentioning it on new releases right now.
All right.
And that's a little bit.
Finally, something super awesome that's coming out this week. The upcoming expansion to Neo, Dragon of the North. The DLC and PvP update hits tomorrow. So if you are a Neo kid, now is something to look forward to. The trailer, if you haven't seen it, just Neo looks great in general. But this is going to take you into the northern regions of Japan. So there's new weapons, new scenarios, new characters, new spirits, new yokai, new stages, all kinds of shit. I guess there's going to be... Actually, Masamune Date is going to be in the game. If you've played any of the Samurai Warriors games, you're familiar with that dude. Anyway, he's a big fucking deal back in the day. And sounds like you might throw down with him.
Nice.
So if you are excited for more Neo gameplay, today is your day.
Neo is an amazing Souls-like game. I don't necessarily like to call it Souls-like, but we really have nothing else for that genre. Hard as nails.
Ninja Gaiden-like.
Yeah, it's far more like... It's like a cross between Ninja Gaiden and Dark Souls. I highly recommend taking a look at it. It's fucking amazing, especially if you liked PlayStation 4's other exclusive Bloodborne. I can't stress enough how fantastic Neo was, and it is fucking long. Took me 60 plus hours to beat it on my first playthrough, and I am not bad at these games. I'm not godlike, but I don't struggle too hard for it. It's just a lot of fucking content.
You know what's funny about Neo? You know what it makes me want more of? Like a game that could translate well right now at this day and age with like Dark Souls and Neo and these difficult games coming out. Well, I want a new fucking Onimusha.
You know, I was actually thinking about that recently. Oh, what if that's what Capcom's going to announce?
Oh my god, that would be amazing. A new Onimusha, but like
that's
style
a missing game.
With the fucking Dark Souls and Neo as heavy influences, but you get that whole Onimusha vibe going.
Yeah, I think it's time to revisit Onimusha, guys. And while you're at it, bring back Dino Crisis.
And John Reno. Starring in both.
Oh, what was that one? The third or the fourth one?
Yeah, Onimusha 3 that had John Reno, and then Takashi.
Yeah, they go to like the Paris in the future, and then they go back to like feudal Japan. The plot to that was just fucking weird.
So good.
Anyways,
I love the Onimusha games.
That does it for new releases. Now let's move on to topic of the week. This is the part of the show where if you're in chat, please feel free to join in and give your suggestions as well. And this week is what video games would make good board games. David, why don't you go ahead and bust down the rules for it? This was your topic.
Yeah, so with the Fallout tabletop being announced, Dark Souls board game is actively shipping out to backers. I don't have mine yet. I'm a little upset. The question really is, which franchises do you think can make the hop to actual physical games? Now, not just board games, miniature games, card games, RPG systems would count. Now, obviously, a lot of video games will make this transition, but we're looking for a few more. So I'm not just looking for what games you want to see as physical releases, but why you think they would work. So I got a couple ideas. I'm sure you have a few as well.
I've got three. How many do you have?
I have three.
Okay. Let me start off with my honorable mention because it's more of a joke than anything else. I want DEF CON, the board game.
That's perfect because I have a joke one as well.
The only reason why I want DEF CON for the board game is because I've watched RoboCop like all of you should have, and I always wanted to play Noob.
Okay, yeah.
All right. So, David, start us off.
Okay, so mine is a little tongue-in-cheek because technically this is a fucking game. Like they already made one, but it's not what I want them to make. Okay. And I'm talking about a Portal board game, but not the one they have now. I want a Portal board game more akin to the 1960s Mousetrap game. Like an actual 3D board game with elaborate weird ass puzzles where you're building stuff, but it's very aperture related. There's
Okay, so let's think about this. It would be you would be playing as GLaDOS. Or rather, you'd be playing as the little robot guys running around, Atlus and whoever.
Yeah, and you're building elaborate traps.
Okay, yeah, I can get behind that. I'm down for that. That's a good one.
And there's basically a little character, and the character moves and triggers things. I mean, the character be something simple, there's a ball bearing that represents the character, and then you have to build some elaborate thing that gets them through the end. I just think that would be really funny. And we haven't had a lot of 3D games. Now I know Mousetrap is a cheesy old ass game that you can compare to Sorry and Monopoly and all that other shit. That if you're a super hardcore board gamer, you say they're all trashy games. Which I'm with you. I don't play fucking Monopoly anymore. But Mousetrap's clutch.
I'm not allowed to play Monopoly anymore.
I mean, why would you?
I get violent at Monopoly.
Why?
Because people won't sell me shit that they clearly need to.
Okay, so here's the thing.
I get slumlordy. I straight up get mafioso.
Well, half the reason why one Monopoly was made to be broken. That's a fucking thing. And half the reason why your Monopoly games take so goddamn long and why everyone hates it is because you've all been playing it wrong the whole fucking time. Read the goddamn rulebook.
Yeah, you auction off properties if no one buys it when you land on it. There is no free parking money.
Yeah, you don't put fucking money in free parking. There's not just some free-ass tax that you can magically get.
Yeah.
Goddamn.
Anyways, my first one. There are board games. I think this actually exists as a board game now that I think about it too, and I'm kind of pissed off because I thought it wasn't. But I want a Resident Evil board game in the style of Mansions of Madness.
Oh, that sounds sick.
Mansion of Madness, if you don't know, is a Cthulhu game from Fantasy Flight Games, and you're explorers exploring a mansion or a cave or insert whatever here. The second edition uses an app to kind of serve as the GM or dungeon master. What I would like to see is a Resident Evil take on this. You're a STARS team sent into a mansion, or a BSAA team sent into a biohazard facility to clean it up, and you will have the app GMing and spawning zombies or tyrants or lickers or whatever have coming at you.
No, yeah, that sounds awesome.
David, you're next.
I'm gonna constantly spawn William Birkins on your ass. That's what you get.
Okay.
Yeah, why not? Just keep throwing that card out. Okay, so mine I think would be fun. Now, it's a game style that I think lends itself to board games up front, but I would like a game placed in the Disgaea universe. Now, the way I see this throwing down is you have like the relic systems where you have characters and you're moving around on a grid. So, I mean, you already have like that top-down view, but there's so many characters, there's so many personalities. The way this game works is you could have a whole array of characters and you're trying to get around, you're trying to achieve overlord status or something like that. And you could have more or less a character deck or a hand that you're drawing from, and that's how you're playing your abilities. So it'd be a cool combination of both traditional style roll the dice, move the board game, and also
you wouldn't have any of like the geomod shit where you can flip the colors, but you could have like say a 25 by 25 size grid, and just move around tactically. So you're thinking more like a BattleTech style kind of game, maybe?
No, I'm thinking more like a relic style game, but with abilities.
Oh, you mean the board game
Talisman.
Relic. Talisman.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
I was saying the wrong thing because Relic is a expansion to the 40k version of Talisman, but yes.
Relic is the 40k version. Yeah. Anyways, I know what you mean now. That makes sense.
Yeah.
No, I think that.
I think it'd lend itself well. I mean, you have a bunch of crazy characters. The art obviously would be really cool looking, so it'd be fun.
My next one kind of borrows heavily from House on Haunted Hill, or the Patrol at the House on the Hill, rather. It will be a tile-based dungeon generator set in the Darkest Dungeon universe. You are 4 dungeoneers set down to explore a dungeon. You flip tiles to explore new rooms and uncover new shit in there. Have a sanity mechanic.
Spawns all the time.
Yeah, have a sanity mechanic. You may or may not die. If you live, you get to go on to the next dungeon with whatever you have.
The game's hard as fuck.
Yeah.
Like Pandemic hard. Like just something difficult.
Yeah, it's broken.
If you don't take the right characters, then you're just done for.
You're fucked.
That sounds great, actually.
Yeah, no, I can get behind that. David, your last one.
So my last one is actually a game that me and a friend have been thinking about for years. And it's even been mocked up. We've play tested it. We've wanted it to happen. And what's funny is I think that the Dark Souls game has finally nailed some of the mechanics that we were missing. But I want an actual 4-player against the board Monster Hunter board game where you get characters, you go into zones, you look for the main monster, you fight small enemies to get materials, you fight a main monster, you have to worry about dodge mechanics, there's a stamina mechanic, there's a weapon sharpness mechanics, and they're all rolled into these various dice rolls. The creature's moveset is controlled by an AI card enemy deck, so you can play with people, and it would be a progression-based RPG-style system where you can kill a monster, you can roll for loot drops, so you can get parts, you can upgrade your gear, so you can have a permanent character, and you're moving through different worlds. And I think that would be fun as shit.
This game you just described exists. It's called Kingdom Death Monster. Now, you need $500 if you want to buy it. It's fucking expensive. But it is. You assemble a party. You go hunting for the monster. During the hunt, horrible shit can happen to you. When you fight the monster, you can break off specific parts of the monster to get resources. When it dies, you roll from monster decks to get resources to craft better items and weapons to fight stronger monsters.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I want.
Perhaps,
but I want Capcom to get a little bit of money from it.
Perhaps something that's not $500 though, for people who can actually, afford to play it. My final one, Grand Theft Auto the board game. Now I know that seems generic as hell, but I envision this kind of as a cross between Lords of Waterdeep and Monopoly. where you're
That's the most absurd shit I've ever heard.
Where you're taking over territory, you're generating money from it to buy more territory, you're fighting over control of the city, you're charging people to go through your turf, and an economic / expansionist game set in the Grand Theft Auto universe. I mean, that makes sense to me.
I know you're saying Grand Theft Auto, but the way you're describing the game, you know what that more sounds like to me?
What's it more sound like to you?
Saints Row, the board game.
No, it's all the same.
No, it's not. You don't carve out an empire in Saints Row or in Grand Theft Auto.
Grand Theft Auto
I'm thinking like Saints Row 2 and Saints Row 3. I think that's the whole fucking point of the game.
Yeah, but I'm thinking about like Vice City, right? You go around and you buy all those businesses. It brings you more income. It lets you buy the stronger businesses. Like, just apply that to like a board game setting with an actual competitive slant out where someone else is trying to buy businesses, take over turfs, take over different rackets. That's where the Lords of Waterdeep part of it comes in, because you can like bribe officials and you can set up markets and you can have all these legitimate fronts behind your shady business. I don't know how it would work.
I agree that your Grand Theft Auto license will sell more copies of the game. I think the Saints Row version of said game would be more entertaining.
Well, I mean, you get to play as Mayor Burt Reynolds if you go that route.
Exactly.
Anyways, what video games would you like to see turn into board games? Let us know in the comments and chats and all that stuff down below. But if that is it, I believe that wraps up the show here. Let me
we got games to play. We got stuff to do.
Yeah, this has been GamePoints 87. Thank you for watching. We do stream live here at Twitch TV every Monday night at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you do watch us live, please feel free to join the chat. We always appreciate when people show up. We had a couple people in here earlier today. I always appreciate that. If you're watching us on YouTube, feel free to comment down below, like, subscribe, regardless of where you're at. We always appreciate that. If you want to follow us the show, you can follow us at GamePoints PC on Twitter. Us individually, I am Stephen Brown at CapitalistPerk21. That over there is David Smith at PalShaft_story. Once again, this has been GamePoints episode 87. Thank you for watching, and we are out of here.
Don't pre-order.